Hi again. Been a long while since I've done one of the talk films. I'd like to talk today about the Aikido that I see in the world, and the one I chose particularly to do was we call it Iwama style Aikido, under the leader of Saito Sensei when he was alive, and he was the caretaker of O Sensei's dojo once O Sensei passed away. And now it's been taken back by the Iwama family that owned the land anyhow and the dojo, and the agreement, you may know, was that Saito Sensei would be the caretaker of it until he himself passed away. Okay, so the majority of the world is doing what we would class as Hombu style Aikido, the more flowing style. And to me, that's more of a sensitive style than the Iwama Aikido. The Iwama Aikido is perhaps, I don't know, it could look more stiff, brutal, but it is a lot more martial. And I've said on other films that if we just could blend them together, and that's what I've been trying to do for many years in my mind. Because to me, it's a body science that we have to study our own body on how to improve. Depending on your level will depend on your abilities to quickly change your body position. Now, if I just lift my arm like this, and you'll see in the camera it's quite straight, I put it in front of my face, it's quite straight. That's actually not in a natural position. The natural position is here. It's, if I put it, you see it covers because I've got big hands, it covers my face. But this face is slightly open. If we do it this way, then it's more like a cutting blade. And yes, you can cut down with it, but it's more abrupt, more aggressive. And when the Hombu style do Ikkyo, they have open hands, and their sensitivity guides the uke down. And in the dojo, that's perfectly okay. But I was taught that in the street, if you'd done this, the person would pull their arm away because you're not attached to them. But rather than say this one's correct, that one's not correct, let's have a look at Hombu style Aikido and the way I like the sensitivity of it, because to do this with open hands you have to have sensitivity. Now there was a combination, senseis like Chiba Sensei, Asai Sensei, and many others. You'll see them quite brutally cutting their ukes down, with this hand blade. They cut it down fast and to the point. Everybody's Aikido works because it's their Aikido. They adopt it to make it work with their body. But if you have this receiving blade here, it still receives it. This will be more of a block. So it's them against you. If you do it this way, then what happens is, if your sensitivity is correct, it can actually fold when it hits. When they come together, it can fold, and then you can just close your grip, and it becomes a natural gripping on their wrist. Or the other hand can be naturally moulded to grip their elbow. So to me, both are correct, but the Hombu style Aikido is more sensitive. And a lot of the Iwama people, they're so strict in their mind and stubborn, we'll say, that they're not looking at flexibility. The flexibility of the mind and the science of how we have to change. If I just turn on my chair, and I keep turning on my chair, apart from the noise, and I put this hand up, but as I turn on my chair, you see, it becomes flat. So sometimes entering, if you're entering Shomanuchi Ikkyo, as long as your body will make, if this is the central point, once it comes together, if you move your body round, then the hand doesn't move so much. Obviously the fulcrum, your body's on a much larger fulcrum than the hand is, but the hand will, so I'm turning now, and I'm turning. So sensitivity and body science. So the body science to me, when I was training in Iwama, only for a short period, but when I was training there, I met a third Dan, and he was to me the carbon copy of Saito Sensei. He looked exactly in action, and if it was a slight distance away from you, perhaps doing the weapons in the morning, you would actually need to take a second glance, because he was so much like Saito Sensei, you thought that he was him. But what I found by practicing with him, he was more like a marshmallow than a human being. And you find this a lot with the top senses. When you think you've grabbed them or got them, they vanish, they sort of melt away. And I think over the years we learn what I call body science. We learn to move this perhaps into our stomach or our leg or our back. You know, we transfer the impact of where the power needs to be placed, and the part that receives may become very soft. If the person pushes, we may withdraw, but we may turn as we withdraw. Hence you get an ura ikkyo or an ura technique. When pressure is applied to you, you should absorb. But a lot of the people become very stubborn-minded, and they think that they should stay in control and not absorb and blend. And I think this is where the biggest factor in the Iwama practitioners, they don't actually see that sensitivity is key to advancement. So I've said this before, if we could blend the two, so I encourage you all to watch, there's so many films on YouTube now, watch both, have an open mind and watch both styles. If you prefer other styles, there's other styles. Nishio Sensei, he used to do more of Aikido, weaponry Aikido, but for him he was very precise, very exact. But that's not so popular in the world in numbers, where I call the Hombu style Aikido is the main one, and that is the one that will survive all of them, I'm sure. And even though I chose Iwama, they call it Iwama Ryu, Iwama School of Thought, even though I chose that, it suited my body. But I've had to look at the other styles, and I choose Hombu style to get my knowledge of how to blend, flow, have sensitivity. So please look at as many videos as you can, because it's your Aikido at the end of the day. You will be the person that succeeds and gets closer to our sensei, and if that's your goal, then you need to look in all quarters. But when pushed, move the body to a new place. if an oncoming vehicle is coming at you, you would step out of the way. You should do the same with a human being and think of everybody as bigger than you. Doesn't matter how big you are, just consider them as bigger and better than you, and that way your sensitivity and your techniques, if they're powerful enough, will be able to blend, then control them, and you can neutralise the attack in a real situation. Because we spend most of the time on the tatami rather than out in the streets looking for fights, we must be careful we don't get disillusioned with thinking that it will work in the streets, because most Aikido won't. And even if it does, you use I've had to use it, and you use such a proportion of the whole technique that it's such a minuscule amount. As long as that minuscule amount works, that's the other thing you have to care about. But when your adrenaline's running really high, because it does get you emotionally if somebody starts to build the fight and you realise you can't neutralise it by talking your way out of it, your adrenaline will rise as well. And what comes out of it, you won't know until afterwards. And hopefully you'll still be standing, or you will be the standing one. And then your adrenaline will take a long time to calm down after, but then afterwards you'll be able to consider all the things that you've done, all the actions you've done. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed this, and please keep practicing, and above all, when you're not on the mat, think with your mind about Aikido and the ways in which you can develop it. Thank you for your time.